Welcome everybody, and for those online as well. I'm just starting with a slide here of spodumene. It's a rock that we've got on our desk in the booth here, and you're welcome to come and have a grab of it if you haven't actually had a taste of what spodumene looks like. And it's from our Ravensthorpe project, and that's the main focus of what I'm going to be talking about today. But before I start, I'll just give a brief snapshot of Bulletin for those who aren't familiar with us. We're listed on the ASX with the ticker code of BNR. We're a well-funded lithium and gold explorer with cash shares and receivables of nearly $12 million. Our current market cap is 55 million, thereabouts, and we have 290 million shares on issue with 771 million listed options out there which expire in 2024, and they're all currently in the money. We've got a really experienced board, and they have a proven ability to reward the shareholders. Back in 2016, when we sold a 20% share in our gold mine for $20 million, we redistributed $13 million back to shareholders at 8 cents a share when the share price was 3 cents. So they do have a track record of rewarding shareholders, and it's something we look forward to going in the future as well. So talking about our Ravensthorpe lithium project, for those who aren't aware, it's only 12 kilometres from the Mount Cattlin lithium mine. We started off with 56 square kilometres, and we've recently expanded to 130 square kilometres with purchase of 2 tenements currently underway through a due diligence project. And the ground that we've picked up is long strike, and it's got the same geology as the Mount Cattlin lithium mine. It's a little bit of historical exploration further to the western side of the part, but we've been focusing on the eastern side, and that's what I'll be talking about. We've been on ground. We just started going on ground late last year and early this year, so we're still fairly new on ground. And the reason we're so enamoured with this project is because we've got a mine just down the road. Just a bit of background, Mount Cattlin mines between 1.5 to 2 million tonne per year. Their current mine life is 2025. They've just announced that they're going to do a bit more drilling to extend the project to try to see if they get to 2027, but there's certainly an opportunity for us going forward with that mine as a feed going forward. So what are we looking for on our ground? I've got a cross-section here of Mount Cattlin for you, of one of their holes. The geology, and these are the things that we're looking for on our ground. So a couple of things to note for them is that not all the pegmatites outcrop on surface. There's a little bit of outcrop, but most of the pegmatites are buried under cover. They've got spodumene-bearing pegmatites, and with a little bit of lepidolite to the northeast of their project area. Their pegmatites dip gently. There's numerous amounts of pegmatites. They're stacked one on top of each other, and they've got variable thicknesses. They pinch and swell. Up at Mount Cattlin, they go anywhere from 2 to 20 metres thick. So that's what we're looking for. And what have we got so far? So far, we've got off to a pretty good start, we believe. We've found high-grade spodumene rock chips in our samples. We saw a picture at the start of the slide. We're seeing spodumene grades up to 7% or just over. And what that's good for us, it just indicates that the spodumene's of good quality and nice and coarse. Our highest grade sample is actually an obligonite sample, which is common in the pegmatites in the Mount Cattlin area. And where we've been focusing is what we're calling the eastern pegmatite trend. It's a 4-kilometre length so far that we've seen pegmatites. It's still open to the north. We've found about 100 pegmatites so far in that area. We've still got more work to do. In the central part of that slide, I'll just zoom in where we've been finding most of the spodumene and the better grade samples. It's an area we're calling big pegmatite. And big pegmatite is not one pegmatite, it's a swarm of pegmatites. It's about 40 stacked pegmatites from our mapping that we've seen in outcrop so far. So what we've seen is they're up to about 200 metres in width. We think they go undercover. It's a bit hard to tell in some places. We'll test it further on. The pegmatites are up to 10 metres in thickness, what we've seen, and they dip very gently from less than 10 degrees to 30 degrees, all to the southwest, or all into our tenement. Just some examples of the spodumene that we're seeing on the ground. The spodumene is quite variable. We're seeing anything from weathered spodumene, we're seeing fresh spodumene, we're seeing some that's a bit altered. In other outcrops, we're seeing spodumene that's with clevelandite and quartz, which is other minerals within the pegmatite system, and they're all typical of the pegmatites that we see up at Mount Cattlin as well. So we're very encouraged that what we're seeing is very similar to what Mount Cattlin was seeing. 2 kilometres further north of the slides I just showed you, we've still got other pegmatite outcrops with spodumene as well. So we've seen quite a few, along the length of the eastern trend, we've seen quite a few outcrops of spodumene-bearing pegmatite, which all need to be tested. And just near that last slide at Creek, we're also seeing another example of weathered spodumene with a little bit of lepidolite. Just like at Mount Catlin, where they have spodumene in the main zone and lepidolite to the northeast, we're seeing the same sort of trends. We also have a western trend just to about 3 kilometres to the west. This was where most of the historical work was done by Lithium Australia previously. The western trend from our work is showing similar things as the previous work. It's lepidolite focused rather than spodumene. We're seeing great grades for lepidolite, but our focus is on spodumene. We'll keep on working on that trend as a longer term focus. As the market goes up and we're all short, lepidolite's bound to become a mineral of interest. But in the short term, we'll be focusing on the eastern trend where we've seen spodumene, just because Mount Catlin's just down the road for us. So what's next for us? Our focus, we've got a drill plan program ready for big pegmatite. And the reason we're focusing there just because of the size, commercial aspects that we're looking for going forward, and also that's spodumene bearing. We're currently working through our approval programs. We are in an area that's got quite a bit of vegetation in there. So conversations with the department are that we have to do a native vegetation clearing permit, which involves surveys of flora and fauna and heritage surveys. That work, we're expecting that work to be, those approvals to come through later in the year. The surveys for us, we're expecting will be early spring, so probably September surveys. We're expecting to get approvals later in the year thereafter that, and hopefully be drilling by the end of the year. I just want to put up a quick slide here of what Mount Catlin looked like before it started mining. That yellow line is the outline of the resource before they started. And if you remember back at the early slides where I showed there were some pegmatites that were outcropping, but most were buried. We're believing everything else being the same, that we'll see the same situation here. So hopefully we'll have something that approaches the size of Mount Catlin as we go forward. But while we're waiting for the approval processes, and we're very keen to drill, we'll keep on working at looking at the pegmatites along strike. We'll keep on mapping to the north. We're still open on 4 kilometres of strike to the north. We're still open. And we've still got to complete the due diligence on those tenements that we've just purchased. I'll change focus a bit. While we're waiting for those permits to come through, we're still working on our other projects. Our Lake Rebecca gold project's been a great project for us. It's 150 kilometres east of Kalgoorlie in an area that's known to have large, low-grade gold deposits. We're right on the boundary of one of those, and that's now Ramelius's gold project, which they purchased off Apollo earlier last year for 182 million. Our ground is right on the boundary of Apollo. In fact, last year we sold a 1.35 square kilometre piece of ground, or 400 metres strip of ground for $5 million in shares. And our drilling has shown that the trend extends into our ground. We've seen the same wide zones of anomalous gold mineralisation, and the drilling that we've been doing is very similar to the drilling we had just south of the ground that we sold to Apollo back in the day, and now Ramelius. So we're seeing grades of 2 at 5.8 and 2 at 0.7. So it's a great little target that we still need to keep on pushing forward. But also more broadly in the wider scheme, we've got 600 square kilometres of ground in the area. And we're using the Rebecca model as an exploration model, just like at Mount Catlin, we're using Mount Catlin as the exploration model. We've got the same ground as the Rebecca deposit. Over last year, we did a large air core drilling program, both on the lake and on land. And we've seen extensive anomalism in the regolith, or in the weathered material, very similar to the anomalisms that they saw at Duke and Duchess and at Rebecca further to the south. We applied for a bit of co-funding from the department in the competitive scheme. They liked what they saw, and they've approved a program for us to start drilling. And as soon as we can get a lake drill rig, we'll be on the ground there drilling. Just to the south, we have a Chifley gold project. It's on the Claypan fault zone, just 20 kilometres south of Breaker Resources' 1.7 million ounce deposit. It's on display on the same shear. We started doing some work on the area of a soil program over the whole tenement. And to the south of there, we found a 2 kilometre long gold and copper anomaly. And the encouragement for that, for us, is that at Rebecca, chalcopyrite or copper-bearing minerals are also associated with the gold mineralisation. So we feel like we've got a system that may be similar to the Rebecca, large and low grade. As well as our on-ground work, we have a royalty which has given us quite a bit of money over the time, $2.5 million to date. We've got a fairly substantial royalty over the gold mine in Coolgardie. That last year they had a bit of a wall slip and stopped production for a short period of time, but we announced even this morning that the quarterly payments have resumed again. So we're expecting to see ongoing royalties, which helps us going forward with our funding. Looking to the future, we do have an extensive portfolio of tenement applications. We've been quite aggressive looking for projects that are near existing mines or near roads or near infrastructure as a commercial strategy. I'll just talk about one just quickly here, and that's the Mount Farmer lithium deposit. We picked this up initially because it was just next to Dalgaranga gold mine, just to the south of us. But Eldoro Resources have a small little 1 square block of ground in the middle of, all surrounded by us, which they've been drilling recently. It's the niobium rubidium project. They've just finished doing their drilling and they're hoping to release a resource statement soon. So we own all the ground around it, and we own the ground that is along strike of it. It's still in application, but it's certainly an interesting project for us to move forward. So that's a quick summary of Bulletin for you. We believe we're a strong investment case. We've got early stage exposure to lithium. We've got a strong cash balance. We're not looking to go out and dilute ourselves. We've got enough money to go forward with all our programs. And we're always actively seeking opportunities to add value. We've shown that we can add value to our projects and we can reward shareholders. And I invite you all to come to the booth after this and have a chat. I'd love to have a chat with you, and we'd love to see you as a shareholder. So thank you very much.